just because you have shoulder pain does not mean you have a rotator cuff tear. Now, rotator cuff tears can be very common on imaging, even in people without pain. One study showed that 50% of people with zero shoulder pain had some sort of degenerative rotator cuff tear on their MRI. Most people are thinking about a rotator cuff tear, they're picturing something like this. When in reality, most rotator cuff tears are kind of like a hole in a blanket, just some fraying fibers. Overall, the blanket still works fine. So more often than not, that shoulder pain is actually caused by some sort of limitations, whether that be lack of mobility or lack of strength in the shoulder. And as a result, other tissues start taking on more of that stress. And that's why you have the pain. So to better understand this, let's talk about anatomy. So the hip and shoulder are both ball and socket joints, but they're very different. The hip, we have a ball that fits inside of a big bony covering of a socket. So as a result, that joint is much more stable, but less mobile. The shoulder, for example, small socket, okay, big ball that sits on top of it. Proportionally, it's kind of like a golf ball sitting on a tee. So what that means is we have way more mobility in our shoulder to get in all these, weird positions we need it to be in, but it's a much less stable joint. So we rely a lot more on dynamic stabilizers like the rotator cuff, the muscles around the shoulder blade, etc. So let's talk about what we're going to do to fix this problem. Okay. The first thing, obviously, calm your pain down. That's where things like dry needling, soft tissue work, joint mobilizations, all those things come into play here. Okay. Next, we need to fix the underlying issues, whether that's tightness in your lats, weakness in your rotator cuff, things like that. And then lastly is to get you back into the performance side of things. So that's where we gradually reintroduce exercises that were bothering you in the gym as we ramp you back up to doing all the things that you want to do with this shoulder. Now, when it comes to getting you back in the gym, that's where you need a performance physical therapist. So regular PT, super low level, ankle weights, TheraBands, hot packs. If your goal is to get a gallon of milk out of your fridge, that's kind of the extent of regular PT. When it comes to performance physical therapy, that's where we're actually going to get you back in the gym. We can do things like dry needling. We can get you out in the gym and put weights in your hands and then give you custom built programming as we ramp you back up, getting into your gym routine. Just because you have shoulder pain doesn't mean you're doomed. There's plenty of things we can do from a physical therapy standpoint to get your shoulder back to functioning at 100%.